This episode contains strong language from the start. So, here we go. Hello, and welcome to Life in Stereo, the show where we explore life through the music that shaped us. Each episode, I'll sit down with our guests to talk about the albums, the songs, and the gigs that meant the most to them. The ones that bring back memories, make us feel, and even changed who we are. I'm Matthew, and I'm your host, and today my guest is Dan D-JAW Bartholomew. He's an old friend of mine. We go back 21 years. We first met in Zakynthos in 2004, 21 years ago. And we're just saying beforehand how much more good looking we were back then. I think, I don't know, I think the grey in your beard and in your hair suits you more now than that weird little E17 beard that you had back then. So today
I did actually have that beard. And not only that, bleached blonde hair as well.
So that wasn't natural.
I actually bleached my beard at one point as well. That little sort of Craig David look, wasn't it? It was.
Oh dear, the things we did. So today we're going to dive into the soundtrack to your life. So let's press play and get this started. So Dan, who are you, and what do you do, and what sort of role has music played in your life?
Well, I think that music is a big part of my life. I wouldn't say that it's always been a big part of it. It's kind of like when I was getting in my teens and I sort of got into sort of like adolescent sort of stage. That's when I really started to find my sort of what I was passionate about music. So yes, massive part of my life. All my life I've been DJing. I've had a number of record labels, and played in different countries and been to loads of raves and parties and stuff. And now it's it's still a big part of my life. Now it's taken on a bit of a different role. I'd say it's more like what kind of mood I'm in and what kind of setting am I in that dictates what type of music I listen to. Whereas back in the day, it was much more all about sort of club music and four to the floor kind of beats and stuff like that.
Yeah, indeed. I remember when we were DJing in Greece. We didn't always start off DJing, did we? I still think the best musical time was when we were in Bounty Bar.
Yeah.
Working with Costa, and we just had free reign for like the first 2 or 3 hours before he turned up for the shift, and we just played whatever we wanted.
Yeah, he turned up when he liked, and then whenever he turned up, we'd be playing something that he didn't want to be played in the bar, because it was a bit more of a chilled bar at the beginning of the night, wasn't it? And they didn't really want sort of like the club music and everything, but because that's what we wanted to hear and get ourselves going for the night, to take over that speaker set and that jump around. There was a good few tunes that are quite iconic from that era, right?
Yeah, too right. Yeah, I always remember whenever I think of a song that reminds me of you, it's NERD.
Yeah. There was a big hip hop scene back then, weren't there? I don't feel like not just hip hop, but hip hop and R&B was so big in the sort of early noughties. I used to be able to go out to it a lot more, and in Zante you had all of the sellers that would come around with all of the fake burnt albums that they'd just burnt on CDs in their computer at home, and there used to be loads of hip hop and R&B influence back then, weren't there?
Yeah, definitely, too right. So did you grow up in a musical household, or sort of like, were there any parental or family influences on the musical taste that you had?
Yeah, so this is an interesting question, because I'm not the same as a lot of other people, where you find a lot of people that got into music and have had musical influence throughout their whole life have had a big influence from when they was growing up and when they were children. And I have to be honest, there wasn't a lot of music going on in my household when I was growing up, but there was a lot more when me and my brother turned into teenagers, because we were much more into music. But I do have a specific memory of of a scene that used to happen on a regular basis. So my dad used to be very he was very good with making sure that all the kids on the street had some sort of fun element going on. So he'd like take us to the park, play football, and that kind of stuff. But one thing he used to do a lot was pile all of us into his Ford Sierra, his red Ford Sierra from back in the day, and go driving down to like the local sort of like Canal River Lee was like a open fielded area. But as he bombed down that road, because it was quite secluded and cut off, you wouldn't have no police down there. He used to stick this album on really loud and play it, and we used to sort of hang out the sunroof and sort of like just like be free and fucking wild and go crazy with this music playing like yeah, it was a fun time. I remember him sort of playing MC Hammer and all that kind of stuff, like Can't Touch This, all those kind of pop music from back in the day that used to get into the charts that we used to love.
I just imagine you and Dean now shimmying from side to side, or dangling out of the sunroof, like the scene out of a horror film before like a big crash or something,
before everyone gets killed. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for ruining that memory for me.
With MC Hammer.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know how we bloody got so many people in the car. It's just ridiculous. Like, you couldn't get away with stuff like that these days. But my dad was a lot of fun back in the day and made sure that we all had a laugh. And so that was one of the most poignant sort of musical memories I have from way back then.
Cool. Is there an artist or band that you remember being particularly obsessed with?
What, when I was younger, or
when you were
in general?
Yeah, when you were younger.
Well, yes and no. So I wasn't necessarily obsessed with one particular band or artist, but I was really into club music when I started to get old enough to sort of be interested in it, around sort of like 14 or so years old. And so the likes of like Chemical Brothers, Fatboy Slim, they were really interesting to me. And then also growing up in London, you've got there was a lot of garage was like absolutely huge. It really kind of was a bit of a London thing back then. You would London was kind of obsessed with garage music. So the likes of DJ EZ, for instance, were all over the radio or all over the pirate stations, and anything garage related. So that was kind of where my focus was back in the day, rather than just on a particular artist or a band.
Interesting. So you didn't have Lighthouse Family on repeat?
Everyone loved Lighthouse Family. Come on, you can't. And like an M People and all that kind of stuff. Those back in the day 90s radio classics. But the underground stations were a lot different, which is a bit strange these days, because you don't really. It doesn't have the sort of like pirate radio stations or sort of internet radio. It doesn't really seem to have the same draw and feel to it, because it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's not illegal.
True.
I think there's a bit of a draw to it when something's a little bit more underground, isn't there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, do pirate stations still exist nowadays, do you think?
They do. Yeah. So what I've noticed is that some of the ones that that you can get on internet radio, because you've got to have a license to be a radio station, right, and project your music on FM, etc. So what I notice is some of the more smaller internet radio stations, they will project it onto a frequency, but that will change every now and again. So you kind of you can still scan. If you go for a scan through FM, you will still definitely find underground stations. It's just that they tend to move or disappear for a little while once they get found out, just like they used to back in the day.
That's awesome. Right, let's move on to the main section, the albums, your life in albums. Do you remember what's the first album you owned?
There was, and I do remember a few, but I was always more into buying singles, if I'm honest. So yeah, like I said before, well, the first single that I actually bought was from Woolworths. Do you remember?
I remember
the day when Woolworths was open, and it was that Chemical Brothers tune, Superstar DJs, and so I was much more into sort of buying singles rather than getting into albums. But the some of the first albums that I really sort of became obsessed with was definitely the Pure Garage series. that was out, and that was like DJ EZ kind of compilation of different garage tunes.
Yeah.
The first album that I ever bought was actually a garage album as well. That was it was called 101% Speed Garage Volume 2. And I remember we was going on a school trip, and we had like these CD Walkmans back in the day. Do you remember
Yeah, yeah.
how annoying they were when you had to sort of trying to play it but keep it steady so that it doesn't
Yeah,
skip?
and skip everywhere.
And I was on the coach to this school field trip, and I had this album on repeat, and everyone kind of was like every now and again would come up and try and like have an earphone for a little while so that they could hear it as well, and that used to just get absolutely battered on repeat, that album. It's so much so that it became unplayable because it was so scratched. CDs were a bit like that, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You didn't want to knock the lasers or the lenses
Exactly.
in your CD player out who was knackered. Do you think that album still hold up now?
Oh hell yeah! I've still got those. So it's difficult because when you want those tunes from back in the day that were on a CD, they were all ripped or recorded. There were recorded sets of people that were playing in clubs on vinyl,
Yeah,
because you didn't really have CD players in clubs, or MP3 players in clubs were like few and far between in sort of like the 90s. And so when you got a CD that had club tracks that were playing in a club, you could, if you wanted to buy the actual full length version, you'd have to buy vinyl. So growing up, I had these CDs that were all recorded sets, but I didn't have the means or to be like a vinyl collector because I was still in school.
mm.
So later on, when I sort of got into DJing, I still wanted to purchase these tracks, but it was very difficult because by then the vinyl has been released and it's gone, and Discogs was like in its early stages, so it was very difficult to get hold of vinyl. So I still have like the CD version cuts that I kind of ripped from that CD, and I still sort of play them in sets today.
Nice, nicely done. I remember Speed Garage being associated with box fitness that I used to go to, and it was
Oh
like
yeah,
you just skip to just the rudest tunes. It was just
yeah,
fucking
and
killer on your
they still
legs.
do that. They still do that now, don't they? That if you go into any sort of like fitness class, there's loads of tunes that still get played that are from that era. I think that's it's really a testament to the time, because all of the equipment and the way of making music and the software was all changing, and there were opportunities to create new subgenres, which I feel like now it's I'm sure there are new subgenres being generated, but the sort of impact and the enormity and the speed of how that changed the landscape of music. I don't know if that still sort of happens in the same way as it did sort of like in the 90s and the early noughties.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. Well, the 90s was the best.
It definitely was. I mean, you've got so many different genres, like the sort of like hardcore and like garage and those different kind of genres that just sort of came from different types of house music, like US house, UK house, and then sort of spawned off into, and then you got jungle and drum and bass, and it's all and sort of the rave culture. There's so many different things that happened in the 90s, and then in the noughties you've got like the funky house era and the electro, and then sort of like, yeah, all of that kind of stuff. It's it doesn't feel like, I don't see that happening now, but that could just be because I'm an old git. And you've got like all these youngsters now that might be going to underground parties that have got new genres and that we don't know about, and I'm sure that it does happen, but it doesn't feel like it's sort of like as widespread as it was back then. Like it doesn't feel like it's a big movement like it was back then. And I guess we are just lucky to have been around it, even if maybe we didn't get as close to the sort of acid house scene as I would have liked, because it was like just a little bit out of just a little bit too young at that era. But yeah, we're definitely lucky to have grown up in a time where there were movements and different musical genres that come
Yeah.
out on the underground scene that maybe it doesn't happen like that today. I don't think it does, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's happening somewhere under our noses and we just don't see it.
Because we're all gits.
Exactly. Yeah, you never know. But I've heard other DJs say that, like online, like big famous DJs say that, and the same sort of thing. And you know, if they're saying it, I don't know. Maybe it isn't happening. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Do you remember the first live gig that you ever went to?
So live gig is in my time would have probably been more of a club event. So I'll tell you about what happened. So let's go way back to when everyone's underage and they're trying to get into a club. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
I remember a friend of mine, my best mate's older brother Wayne. He used to go to this club called Charlie Chan's in Walthamstow, yeah, there used to be nights on there like Absolutely and old garage nights like what they called. I'll come back to that in a sec. But and he's got us, because you couldn't get into a club like unless you was dressed up to the nines. So it was like
Yeah.
you wouldn't be letting without a pair of shoes on and all that. So me and my mate Gary, we got in our suits that were like a little bit too big for us kind of thing, and turned up all underage, and he kind of Wayne just sort of vouched for us at the door and got us in the kind of club that, you know, like had sticky carpets and all that kind of stuff, and it was dark and dingy. And but I remember that night vividly because the first time you get into a club is quite a big event when you're underage. Yeah, that club doesn't exist anymore, but there was certainly some good nights back in the day there.
What else do you remember from that night?
I just remember like the sort of sense of community, the sort of like the vibe on the dance floor, like the fact that everyone was going out and wanted to just be free and listen to the same type of music, and the repetitive beats and the bass going through your chest. Like the sound systems when you go to a gig or when you go to a club are obviously much more intense than they are if you get into a pub or you go out just to a normal party. And that kind of feeling of community and everyone wanting to be together and being sort of one unit on the dance floor, that energy is quite special. And anyone who goes to a gig or to a party or to a club event, that really is what you should be searching for, is that kind of oneness sort of feeling,
Yeah.
between a group of people.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you and Gary went out in your three-piece suits. Me and Horty did it once. We went to a casino in Manchester, Hard Rock Casino, when it was still open in the Printworks.
Yeah.
And we were told like we need to get like suited and booted for it. So we went down there, three-piece suits, ties, cigars, thinking it reminds me of, have you ever seen the film Swingers? With Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
Where they go to Vegas and they're thinking they're like high rollers and they go and play on the really shit tables.
Yeah.
That's what we were like. But when we got in there, it was just like guys in football shirts and tracky bottoms, and we would just look like fucking idiots. it was so bad. It was so bad.
Feel like you at the time you don't think that you look like an idiot, but there was a certain, because everything was baggy back then as well, wasn't it? It wasn't even like it was like now you get everything's fitted, or I guess the bagginess is coming back now a little bit, but back then, you know, you look thinking about an oversized suit and it's baggy anyway, and then you're there in your shoes, and oh yeah, it was different time, isn't it? It's just different.
Yeah, I don't know how we got away with what we got away with back then. Like,
No.
bouncers must have known. You look at somebody like, it's like, how did you know I was 17? So, well, because you're the guy that looks like you're wearing your dad's suit from 7 years ago that doesn't fit you. I'm pretty sure in Bolton you still got to go out in shoes and pants and shirts.
Everyone seems very much. It's a lot more casual now. That I see. When I was out and about on Halloween, and I feel like there was so many people that were dressed up. It was crazy. It was like that almost sort of all of Gen Z were out, and they were completely and utterly dressed up in sort of fancy dress, which I don't feel like that was much less like that back in the day. It was all sort of like fancy dress was sort of a specific house party or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time. Were there any songs that ever made you cry?
You know what? I'm not. That's a very difficult question to answer. Who wants to admit that they cried to a tune?
I did it.
Did you? I
Yeah.
would say that the first tune, and this is going to be a bit random. You're not going to have expected this. The first tune that ever made me emotional was definitely Bryan Adams, the theme tune from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Do you remember that? Everything I Do.
I think everybody knows that song, Daniel.
Yeah, everybody, and maybe at that time it was again, it was like sort of like adolescence kind of era, and definitely had my first crush around that time, and so that film came out with that song around the same time that I had a crush on someone, and yeah, definitely was a bit of an emotion stirrer, that one.
That's brilliant. And he made you cry. Ah, how
Yeah.
old are you?
Oh, I don't know, probably about 14 or something. Let's see
Yeah,
it. I can't remember when that film was out. It was definitely in the 90s, wasn't it? Something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
One of
Yeah,
Alan Rickman's finest performances. That
definitely.
he absolutely cooks in that film.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Every
he's
time
brilliant.
they remake that film as well, they don't do it anywhere near as good as that.
No, no. Tell us about your Hidden Gem album. What's one album that you love that most people don't get, or do you think they don't get?
Hmm. You know what? I'm gonna say that Eminem's first album, the Slim Shady one, or
Hmm.
even if you go back, I can't remember what the name of his underground one was, just before that he got sort of the Slim Shady album out. But I think that era for that was definitely Eminem's finest work, and there's not. I don't feel like it definitely didn't get enough appreciation before he sort of switched on to the bigger one, which was obviously Marshall Mathers, and that for me, I do actually go back and listen to that on a regular basis, sort of like I'd say once every 4 months or so,
Yeah.
just to sort of relive it, and the things that he talks about and the lyrical genius. It's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, he's a worldwide superstar now and probably can be remembered for all time, but I don't think he's ever going to capture that in a bottle ever again.
No, it was quite explosive the way he came onto the scene. How did you discover it?
You know what? I worked my way back because I wasn't aware of that album until the Marshall Mathers EP came out.
Yeah.
So I was obviously fascinated by the Marshall Mathers album, and that obviously got very, very famous. And then I've always kind of been someone who wants to sort of delve back and look back at like where does this sound come from, or where's this music come from, and so I just sort of researched his other stuff, and then listening to that album was a good sort of segue. But it's got such a different. I want to say it's a different vibe, but it's almost like it's more raw because it was like I think there was more pain in it rather than the Marshall Mathers one, and so there's definitely more of an edge to the lyrics and what he's talking about that really appealed.
Yeah, I worked at Blockbuster Video, and the manager at the time called Steve put it
Mm,
on at closing time, and I was just like, this guy's got some things he wants to get off his chest.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was he was like, oh, you've got to buy it, he's got to buy it. We completely wasn't what I was listening to or into at the time, and I was very easily swayed when it came to music. I'll just buy anything people told me to listen to, and I'd just give it a
yeah.
bash. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to play this at home. Where am I going to play this?
That was, that was the really good era for the parental advisory sticker that you used to get on the CDs, because it was like rappers were definitely saying things that you didn't think were that most of like the public would approve of, but I guess Eminem just took it to a whole new level, didn't he? He kind of just sort of said, I don't really care if there are any limitations that we should or shouldn't be sticking to, and just sort of blew them out of the water, didn't they? Didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. Right then, the Turning Point album. Is there any album out there that you sort of listened to that completely changed you? Like, is it tied to a personal memory or a life shift or anything?
Yeah, I would say that Daft Punk probably had a number of different albums like that. But then I've been into I was into the likes of Kings of Leon and Kaiser Chiefs for a little
Hmm.
while. So, and Franz Ferdinand kind of thing. That was also around the time when we were sort of out in Zante, and there
Yeah, yeah,
there was a bit of a movement for sort of that sort of indie music at that time. And I remember when we used to DJ, used to go from sort of rap and R&B into sort of club and head candy, and then if you wanted to go one even better, then you'd put on the Kaiser Chiefs and all that kind of stuff, that would really turn everyone's head and give the dance floor a little bit more of a different feel.
yeah. The sing-along indie
Mm,
anthems, I suppose, at the time.
mm,
I think that was probably quite peak. I think for music like that. And there was, when we were in Greece, I know Wild Coyotes eventually became like an indie bar. There wasn't really many places where you could hear
mm.
anything with a guitar. Like you said at the start, it was all hip hop, R&B, and garage when we were out there. And the occasional bar or club would be dedicated to like house or something along those lines. I thought it was really hard to try and find something a little bit niche when we're out there. It all seems to be like copy and paste regardless of what you bar, but
Yeah,
bar you in. But yeah, like I know what you mean. Like just a few things where people could stand around and just beer in one hand, your mate in the other arm, just like jumping around and shouting out as loud as you can the lyrics to whatever song was blasting out.
it is. Yeah, you're right. It was a bit of a cookie cutter exercise out there with a lot of places. You did have like the clubs that were just focused on R&B and hip hop. Was the one at the bottom there? Was it called Bad Boys? Maybe.
Bad Boys, yeah, where
Yeah.
Chronic used to
Yeah, DJ
DJ.
Chronic, he was brilliant. He's a brilliant DJ as well. Yeah,
Jason.
he was really good. But yeah, so those sort of bars did actually focus on one particular genre, but the other places you just used to get like club music and a bit of a mishmash of everything. But I don't think there was any. I don't remember any bars that were just specifically sort of rock and indie. Maybe one or two, but they kind of I weren't really massively attended, were they?
No, there's a few bars. There's like the biker bar type thing that
Yeah,
was
that's it.
on
Yeah.
Kalamaki Road that I loved and no one ever going as far as just me and the owners. And I rarely went in there because we never had time off, did we? Not
No,
really.
it was. We were working 7 days a week. I
Yeah.
kind of remember working 7 days a week. We didn't have days off, did we?
No, not until a bit later on when it died down a bit and he needed to rotate us. And then because
Crazy.
remember we had that bar war with zeros and
Yeah,
rescues because of the absinthe.
yeah. Because what? Remind me, because of the absinthe, or because we were trying
Yeah,
to get the
no,
strongest
no.
drink?
It was. This is going slightly off topic, but this is just what our life was like when we were out there for 6 months. This was like a regular day. So,
Yeah.
Bounty Bar, picture it. It was me and Dan and the owner, and we were pretty much the only bar staff that were there. And then we had the waitress crew. So we were very much a chilled place, and also a workers' bar because Costa was quite. he was quite a people pleaser with alcoholic beverages, we'll call it. And if you've ever been to Zante, you'll know the 2 bar zeros and rescues are like 2,000 capacity nightclubs. They're open till whatever time in the morning. And there was a guy called Darren who was with his girlfriend who had a night off, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. So back then, like, people were even starting off until like 11, 12 o'clock at night, really. And Darren and his girlfriend came into the bar on his rare night off because he was a flair cocktail person, and there's Raf as well. And he just came in for a quiet drink, and Costa abused him with absinthe to a point where he wandered off down the street and bought a wooden snake off one of the street vendors that sold the CDs, and was sat with it around his shoulders, and he was tripping balls because the absinthe had fucked him up that much. And he was hallucinating from it, and he was telling us he could see dolphins in and out of the tarmac. This is one of my most vivid memories of it because of the aftermath. So his girlfriend was pissed because, like, it ruined their night, basically, because it was like 10:30 at night and he couldn't fucking stand up, and he had to get a taxi to get him home on his like one night off in 6 months. So you had the night off, I think it was like the next night, the night before, you had a night off, and you came into the bar and you looked like you'd been jumped by somebody. You went, whatever you do on your day off tomorrow, don't go past the Heroes of Rescue, they're hunting us down. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, I can't. I swore it was like a barcode or whatever it was. Not the barcode, the bar, but like a code amongst bar people saying, I can't tell you what's happening, just don't go down there, just stay at home. And then you went on your way. I was like, oh shit, what's all that about? So the next day, it was my day off. I walked down there and I was on the other side of the road, and they'd put all the people that were doing the leafleting and stuff like that, trying to get people into the clubs, on high alert. And then the 2 like bulldog door staff, the Albanian lads, the Mitchell brothers, and they collared us, shouted over to drag us into the bar, dragged us into the bar. These 2 huge mountains of men of pure muscle just sort of like gripped me and held me in this seat. And Dan was there and Raf was there and said he doesn't leave this bar until he's drank his drinks. And he had a cocktail shaker in front of me, and he was stood on the bar above me, just free pouring, just bottles. I don't know what he had in his hand, and he was topped off with absinthe. And he set on fire and there's straws in it, and I had to drink it, and it was grim. And I was like, I can't drink anymore of this. He says, right, put a shot glass down in front of us, put ice in the shaker, and he just kept pouring it. He said, you don't go till that shaker's empty. And I was like 11 o'clock at night when people were just like starting to go out, and I was just, thanks Costa.
Thank you for. I didn't get caught then.
You're the first one. You got caught. You're the one who warned me about it.
What? That's how much I don't remember about Zante, because obviously I've blacked that one out. I remember the Costa used to do the whole tequila bottle thing. Do you not remember that?
I do remember. I've still got a picture of the empty bottle with a grub in it.
Yeah, I know, with the grub in it, the worm in it. Yeah, whoever finishes this bottle, the last shot gets the worm. God, man.
And none of us wanted the grub until we got down to the bottom of the bottle. Then we all wanted the grub. And do you remember what happened next?
He gave it away.
He gave it away to his mate. He just walked in the bar. I'm like, bastard, we've been going through that for 3 hours.
Oh, that was funny.
That was nice tequila.
Eh?
Yeah. So that was like, what, Tuesday? And then with...
Yeah, no, that used to be every day. It weren't just
horrendous.
Tuesday. It was crazy that we didn't come out of that with any long-term damage, really.
I'm pretty sure I've got long-term damage from it. We could do a whole podcast on the shenanigans go to in Zante.
You need to get your bloods done. I checked mine out, and apparently everything's fine.
I think mine's still probably 20% of that tequila.
20%
that
tequila,
cocktail.
Yeah.
Oh, grim. Right, let's move this on. What do you think is the most played album in your life?
Oh, it's definitely that 101% Speed Garage Volume 2, just because I don't listen to albums on repeat that much anymore. But back then, when you're younger, you kind of just feel like I'm definitely going to listen to this over and over again. Or Pure Garage Volume 1, that's another one probably had on repeat. I used to, even my mum used to like Pure Garage Volume 1. So she used to be going out to this place called Country Club up in It's like a Chigwell area kind of
Yeah.
thing. And yeah, she used to hear that kind of music, garage up music up there. And then so when she sort of started to notice that we were playing the same sort of music that she was going out and dancing to, she started to buy those albums for us. So it was we kind of ended up with a nice free load of albums that used to come in just because she thought, oh yeah, I'm listening to the music that I'm going out to. But we used to absolutely rinse that at home on the stereo system, blast it out on the weekends when she'd be out.
Yeah, I remember something similar. Like my mum, I had Dave Pearce trance anthems on
Mm,
Radio On when they used to have that on
mm.
there, and I was just listening to some track, and my mum was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I really like this." I was like, "Right, well, I'm done with trance." That's
Yeah, I remember the Clubber's Guide to Ibiza as well. That Ministry of Sound, those compilations
mm,
used to really hit, which is strange, isn't it? Because there's such a spectrum of different types of club music or music that people used to go out to back then, and used to like all of it, really. There wasn't so much trance. I'm sure there was probably, but there wasn't so much trance nights that I went to in London. But I'm sure I'm pretty. I feel like there was more of that going on outside of London, like in the big clubs like Cream and all that kind of thing.
yeah,
And there was definitely Ministry of Sound in London, but I don't remember that having a sort of a big influence on people that certainly that I used to hang around with. There wasn't necessarily lots of trance people that wanted to go out to trance music, but it is if you even listen to back now to some of those like the Clubbers Guide and all that and the Ministry of Sound annuals and things, they were really good. There's a lot of good music in there.
yeah, and a lot of them were mixed as well, which was delightful.
Yeah, and that's frustrating that because I remember they used to do sometimes you'd get albums where they had two versions on there, wouldn't they? There would be a mixed version and there would
Mm.
be an unmixed version. And as a DJ, you was always on the hunt for those unmixed versions. You used to go because like I didn't necessarily play loads of vinyl when I was that age because at that age sort of CDJs were coming out and they were very popular and obviously easier to mix with, and so having CDs were lighter to carry as well. So
Oh, hi.
used to go on the hunt down like so Rough Trade and all that kind of stuff, places like that, and other sort of record shops that were kind of slowly dying out or sort of at the early noughties. They were disappearing off the streets, but they definitely had a few like sort of unmixed versions and stuff. But it was something that you used to hunt for to get the unmixed versions because mixing mixed albums it was much more difficult. So you got shorter time frame for the tunes, didn't they? Used to mix
Yeah,
them
too
out.
right. Yeah, yeah. I remember that now. Like first 2004 Zanti, and I took 90 vinyl. That cost a fortune to get on the airplane, and the strap of that snapped, and that was a nightmare to lug around. And then
Did you really bring those vinyl?
yeah,
I know. Was that
yeah,
when? Was that another year maybe? Or
2005 when
it
you were
was?
down at Boozers and you told us to
Oh
come over for
right,
a gig, I
yeah,
bought a handful of vinyl, and the majority of that then was CDs.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had my whole CD case nicked once. That was the most frustrating thing I think I've ever been through as a DJ. It was in my apartment and I was obviously a bit wasted. And I came home and I put the CD bag, which had literally all of my collection, down to get my keys out. And then I went in and then obviously forgot to pick it up. And about 2 hours, 2.5 hours later, I'd remembered and kind of like half woke myself up before I went to sleep. Went outside and it was gone, and I was like, "Oh my God, how?"
Heartbreaking.
It was like all of the CDs and music that I had collected from maybe age sort of like 13, 14, all the way up to sort of like what I can't remember, it was early 20s at that point.
Yeah,
And I had to play the next day as well because I was playing every night. And it was a nightmare because I just had to I scrounge around, I had to go to an internet cafe that day and ask people if they could lend me CDs so I could burn them. Obviously got through it, but started the collection again, which I still got that CD bag now. with all of those older from then onwards. But yeah, no, that's the most frustrating thing that's ever happened. I mean, who nicks a CD case? It's such a such a hurtful thing to do to a DJ.
Oh, right, yeah, that is definitely some matter. And it wasn't me. I think there was a prank and throwing a bush.
Maybe it was you. Maybe
No.
All this time we was going to reveal it as an exclusive on this show.
No. That's why I brought you here. This big reveal. To brought you up and say, "Oh, remember that CD case?" I actually was in a charity shop about a year ago and found a big CD, like the one with four on each side. And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, what's in that?" Just picked it up and it's full of old house CDs, just down here on the floor next to me, on my left. All like the old Head Candy CDs, because they were never mixed. And my wife was like, "You're not getting that." So I need to get it, and I ended up buying it. And she's like, "You're not going to use it," and I was like, "I know." And I just bought it because I just needed that. I just needed it. I can't explain why. I just felt like I needed it, and I think it might be getting redonated again, but
it's frustrating, isn't it? Because you got like the vinyl sort of space is completely rejuvenated, and everybody wants to play vinyl nowadays, or get tunes that are on vinyl because of the warmth and depth of the sound. But you're never going to get that with CDs because of the bit rate that they were created in. And you don't really see any companies like Pioneer or whoever re-releasing CD players or on stuff, so you're effectively left with, or anyone who was a DJ around that era, I've got a bag of CDs that's literally doing nothing. It comes out every now and again for reference, so you can go in there and go, "Oh, what was the name of that tune?" kind of thing. But
I'll just stack your laptop on just to make it a bit higher.
Yeah.
Sacrilege.
I mean, if you do play the CD, like the sound quality, it just isn't there. When you compare it to vinyl, and obviously MP3s is still not as good as vinyl, but you can burn in WAV, so you can get higher quality, and you can actually you can get away with it and play good quality sounding music that is digital nowadays, where those CDs, I don't really think you're never gonna really play them again, are you?
No, not really. I would like to keep the vibe on this podcast positive and upbeat, but I also want to know, what's the most disappointing album that you ever got?
Yeah, so I think that we can probably go back to an artist I've already mentioned, which is controversial, probably, Eminem. So after that Marshall Mathers EP and the album, the next one, I think it was the Eminem Show, was for me really disappointing, just because, and I think it was he didn't do himself any favors really, because the Marshall Mathers one was so full of so many back-to-back absolute tunes that how you can have kind of follow that, and there were some really good tunes on there, like Superman, for instance, that was absolute, for me, that were really good, and Soldier, but there was a lot on there that I was just like, oh no, what's going on here? This is a bit of a, I wouldn't say waste of buying it, because there were some good tunes on there, but it wasn't consistently big tunes dominating the whole album like there was the Marshall Mathers one. So for me, that was a disappointment. Did
you carry on listening to Eminem after that, or did it sort of become the end of an era for you?
Good question. Yeah, I think it was a little bit of an end of an era, because I wouldn't. It's very difficult to put yourself in this headspace of an artist, but he was so super famous after that you kind of, I would say, you've got to make music that people want to buy to make money, which is great, but there's also you can't recapture that moment in time of breaking through, and the pain and the sort of like the things that are happening to you in your life that happen to you because you're struggling to make it, and when you become successful, you don't, and it's the same with comedians, right? When they become successful, you don't have the same material, because your material is based on your life experience, and so it's very difficult to recapture that sort of breakthrough era, and so I think I wouldn't say that I didn't follow his career as much as I did when he was breaking through, and I definitely think the music was slightly different. But there are, some tunes that here and there that do definitely hark back
Yeah,
to that era.
cool. Who's the artist, or what was the record that shaped who you are? Like, was there anything you heard or saw that changed your values, your style, your worldview, or your social circles?
Yeah, so style definitely. So there's an artist called Maceo Plex who's a big underground sort of name, but he wasn't always he didn't always do that style, and he had different aliases. And when he changed to bring out this alias called Maceo Plex, there was a different sort of style of music around that era, and it was house music, but it was referred to as tech house. But tech
Mm,
house isn't it's not tech house, and the subgenres, they change over time. So tech house is much more faster and sort of like general sort of housey sort of music now, whereas tech house back then was much more minimalistic, stripped back, and there was a little bit. There was some of the tech house was more musical, and sort of methodical, so it would sort of build over time. And Maceo Plex was kind of came out at that right at that turning point when it kind of changed.
yeah,
There were nights like Mullet Over, for instance, that were kind of pushing that kind of sound, and the clubs like what's the name of it in Bermondsey Street. I'll remember it in a sec. That work at Jaded, for instance, that pushed that kind of music, and you didn't get to hear it everywhere. And Maceo Plex was one of kind of the pioneering sort of people at the time, that kind of came out with that sort of style. So once he sort of broke through, that changed the direction of what I wanted to play out as a DJ, to be more like that sort of sound. Whereas
yeah.
before I was a little bit more sort of tribal house, a little bit faster, and that kind of made me want to sort of pull back and get more. I'd say play music that was that for me had a little bit more of emotion in it, a bit more ploddy, a bit more sort of dancey in a different way. It wasn't sort of ravey. It was more like you could get down to it a little bit more. And yeah, there was a lot of different things that spun off on that era that kind of changed the way that I wanted to interact with music and play music.
Interesting. Interesting. Right then, the mixtape test. If you've seen the film High Fidelity, or more importantly, read the book High Fidelity,
Mm.
you know what mixtapes mean and the importance of a solid first track.
Hmm.
You're making a mixtape for someone special. Watch track number one. You don't have to tell us who it is if you don't want to, but if you want to, you can flex that.
Yeah, so I'd probably I was thinking about do when I do mixtapes, what I usually do is I will take a part of a well-known tune and sort of chop it up and loop it and make it sound slightly different, maybe slow it down, pitch it or something like that. And so I would probably pick something like SL2 on a ragga tip, like with the opening
Yes.
sort of and so that would draw everyone in, and I'd cut it and loop it and mess about with it, and that would kind of be the opening track. I'd probably pitch it down because when I want to do a mixtape, I like to build up as a crescendo
Mm.
over the course of it. So I'd probably slow that down and manipulate it a little bit. And if I've got time, I'd probably edit it as well and throw a few other things in there to make it different. But yeah, that would be something off the top of my head that I would think of, that would open up the mixtape, draw everyone in, and make them feel like this is going to be something special.
Those lucky people. Fantasy band lineup. This can be a band, it can be a DJ night that you're doing, or a hip hop crew. Who have you got?
Yeah, so I'd like, if I'm going to do a lineup, I would imagine that it's going to be a number of different rooms, and if I was going to do a number of different rooms, then I'd do different styles in each room. So in the sort of like club room, I'd have people. Obviously, you got to have the King, Carl Cox, in there, and then people like Fatboy Slim, Groove Armada, Chemical Brothers, those types of people. And then I'd have a different room with maybe the sort of rock and indie era. People that I like. It would be sort of like Kaiser Chiefs, Franz Ferdinand, Kings of Leon. Then you'd throw in there Oasis and people like that, and have that room kicking off. And if I was going to have an R&B and hip hop room, you'd bring the likes of Biggie and Tupac back from the dead. You'd put them on there. I'd probably throw in LL Cool J, Mace, Warren G, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and have that in there. So you'd have a whole plethora of different amazing DJs in different rooms from different eras. And he did say it was a fantasy lineup, so those would be my choices.
Yeah, sounds cheap spawn that. That's it.
Yeah, very cheap.
What do you think that green room's going to be like?
Oh yeah, love that green room. That green, it's a sort of room that I'd find a couple of my mates in there, and they wouldn't leave the room all night just because it's the green room with all of the stars. And it's like, come on, guys, we've got to get out there and have a party. But no, they'd just be in there smoking and drinking with all of that fantasy lineup and having a laugh.
Brilliant. What song teleports you back to either a time or a place or something that makes you smile?
It's got to be something like Valley of the Shadows. That tune's just so sort of iconic, and it would take me back to a place where like when you're a teenager and you're listening to music that you shouldn't really be listening to, and kind of like making you want to go out and party, and you wouldn't be able to get into those raves anyway. So Valley of the Shadows by Origin Unknown would be my tune that takes me way back.
Right then, what is tonight's album recommendation?
Yeah, so you know what, I'd like to listen to every now and again is the Michael Jackson albums, and in particular Bad, because that that album has got so much more production value in it than a lot of people realize. You've got that changeover of where people are not making tunes with bands and drum players anymore. They're making them on actual analog gear, and Michael Jackson was very interested in that sound. So you can see tunes like Billie Jean.
Oh, keep going.
Analog gear. They sound. There's a sound to that album that is just, and those tunes that is just very unique to him, having an influence in the production. And I think he actually created a lot of them, and he was kind of pushed back on and said, no, you can't create an album on this analog gear. And he was like, no, it has to happen. I sure read something, or a friend of mine told me the other day that he actually cried when they tried to push him back and said, no, you can't use this analog gear. And that's why he got his way. What a tantrum to have to make sure that your sound is actually recognized. And yeah, that album and some of those tunes that he made on analog gear was just there's some sort of sound that you can't, it would be very difficult to recreate it.
Yeah, as someone that's dabbled in music production as well, the plugins and packages that you can get kind of come close, but never quite hit.
Yeah, you can't. There are even sort of like the recordings of those sounds. It is very, very good, but it's still reproduced on your own system. But having the actual gear on there, like the 808s and the 909s, etc., their sound of them is just it's just different. It's just very difficult to recreate.
Yeah, indeed. Quick fire round. Here we go. What is your wrestling or boxing entrance music?
R.I.P. Rip Groove. So
Oh, yes.
that
Double
would,
99.
yeah, double 99. You know, that tune. If you look at any sort of like party, if you look at sort of Paddy Pimblett, for instance, he comes in with that entrance music, and it gets everyone up and on their feet. And I think if I was gonna have an entrance music, I would really like to make sure that the whole crowd is a rocking.
Damn right. Favorite cover song?
Um, Cover song. That's a difficult one, you know. Um, I don't think I've got one, you know, off the top of my head. A cover song. Who's done any cover songs? No, can I pass that one for now?
Go on then. I'll let you. Well,
Yeah.
great start. I've got one past question already. Right, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, you know what? It's Robbie Williams, Let Me Entertain You.
God damn it. That's horrendous. Did you ever
Is
do that
that,
when...
do you know why though? Because I haven't got a singing voice. So
What?
no, I haven't got a singing voice, but I've got a certain small range that I can stay within, and yeah, so that's the only one that's within my range, and I guess it says that about Robbie Williams's range as well. But I'm sure he's got a better singing voice than I have.
Did you ever do that when you used to have the... You remember you used to have the live music nights and the karaoke night on in Bounty?
Hmm.
Did you ever do that then? I'm pretty sure you would have scarred my memory with that one.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been. I can't even. Those karaoke nights were quite rare, weren't they? It wasn't like we did them all the time. But yeah, that or what was the Brian Adams tunes, those kinds of things. Anything that was really rubbish.
Summer of 69,
Summer of '69. Yeah,
with
definitely.
tears in your eyes. What's the last gig that you went to?
Um, um, I don't really go out to gigs that much, but I do go out and have a little dance around. So the last time that I did, I went up to Camden and just sort of frequented all of the bars down there, and like places like the World's End have always got someone playing, so you have a little dance around to that. And that wasn't too long ago. So yeah, that would be it.
Cool. What's the first song you play at a house party?
Um, it's probably gonna be the Chemical Brothers Superstar DJ, because that was one of the first that I got, and if I was ever sneaking around to different little mini gatherings that you could probably class as a house party, that would have been the first one that I played. Or you know what, actually, a vinyl one would have been Sweet Like Chocolate. Sweet Like
Ooh,
Chocolate Boy.
yeah.
That was around the era of the first sort of house parties that I used to go to.
So if you're ever at a little intimate venue in London and you hear "Hey Boy, Hey Girl" by Chemical Brothers or "Sweet Like Chocolate,"
Yeah,
let's have a look
yeah.
around and see if D-JAW is on the on the
See if
on
you can
the.
see my grey beard on the decks. Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure track that you secretly love?
Oh God, it's gonna be E17. It's all right. Absolutely love that track, and I know it's some people would say, it's a bit of a boy bandy tune, but there's a real beauty to the way that whole tune sort of builds up, and the pianos and everything, and the energy of it, and people uh, maybe they forget that E17 were quite a little bit more they were a little bit more of a bad boy pop band than sort of like the clean cut ones like Take That, and so they did have a sort of a club culture, a club influence around some of their tunes on their early albums.
They played up here about 2 mile down the road on an airfield as part of like what is like remember in the 90s sort of nights. E70. I don't know how many of them were there, but it's called Earlham Live,
Mm.
and there's always like little surprises. They got one of the members of Bros headlining like in 2026.
What
One of those,
so Yeah, because they're but it's not the same people though, is it?
don't know.
um
You're the
no,
fan.
no, so that because obviously they have to switch people out, but it's not. I don't think Brian is in it anymore. um he's obviously not. I don't think they all get on today. So he's one of those people that I think that they kind of cut. But it's never going to be the same because he was the voice, wasn't he? Back in the day, he was the one who had the great voice. But yeah, he's I don't know. There was obviously reasons why they won't do it. It's the same with the garage crew, Artful Dodger. They've switched out people, and it's not the same people anymore. I guess there's something about using the name there, isn't there? That you're allowed to do that, but not everyone knows it. That they're different people.
Yeah, I know Ben from Fats and Small does the circuit performing as Ben from Fats and Small.
Oh yeah. The same. Groove Armada do the same when they do DJ sets. They're like, they call it a DJ set, but it's not always both of them. And you get the likes of Faithless as well. They do DJ sets, and obviously it's Sister Bliss is doing that rather than the full crew.
Indeed. Dan, guess what?
What's that?
It's episode 1 in the book, son. We did it.
Nice.
We're at the end.
Nice
what's coming up for you then? You got any projects or gigs or events that you want to tell the good people about?
I got a few projects, a bit music that I'm working on, and like the record labels that I've got, they're always there, and maybe you'll start seeing some of that music going on them soon. Gigs wise and events, I'm actually going to be going traveling at the end of this year with my partner, and so the all of the gigs are going to be I'm going to be focusing on getting some out there, so traveling around sort of Thailand, Vietnam and stuff. Take a little taking my laptop and a controller, because sometimes when you go out there you can talk your way into sets, and they don't necessarily always have equipment at there. They have speakers, but the last time I went years ago, they were like, "Oh, have you got a controller? Because you need to plug it in." So this time I'm going back armed with a controller, and I'm just gonna try and get some gigs here and there.
Don't leave it outside your room.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's cool. So people Thailand, beware of Chemical Brothers.
Beware, yeah. Beware. D-JAW is on the prowl.
Where can the good people, the listeners, where can they follow and support you?
So you can find me on Instagram and on SoundCloud as Dan D-JAW, so DANTHEJAW, and you can follow and support me there. I'll
make sure I put the links to your socials in the show notes, as always. But can't let you go without one final question. If you could preserve one song in a time capsule jukebox for the future, what's it going to be and why?
It's gonna be industry standard What You Want. So this is another old garage track that's got a lot more soul to it. So it's got a nice skippy beat, a nice bouncy bass line, and a wicked vocal, a hook on there that I still feel like that stands the test of time now, and it's decades old. So jukebox for the future, and hopefully we'll keep that one alive and not let it disappear and be forgotten about. Yeah, I'm gonna try and make a Spotify playlist of all these. So if you're listening on, you want to know what these tracks are that Dan's talking about, you'll be able to go in, find the Life in Stereo podcast Spotify playlist, and have a little listen. Give yourself some earworms. Yeah, that's it for sure. I'll make sure that I help you out with that, because there's some on there that I'll happily add on there for you. Brilliant, nice one. Dan, that's it for today's episode. Huge thank you to yourself for sharing the soundtrack to your life so far. I really loved revisiting those Zante moments with you, even if you don't remember all of them. It's probably for a very good reason. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and why not share it with someone who loves music as much as you do. You can also reach me on Facebook by searching for Life in Stereo podcast. Just look for the chimp in the headphones, and that's it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep spinning those records that make your life sing.